The place where we are now is the Kiso Fukushima Sekisho, or the Kiso Fukushima barrier. And every traveler had to pass through here to have their identification checked, to have what they were carrying checked, in order to be given a pass to carry on. Now, every traveler had to pass through here, but it was primarily for the Daimyo, or the lords of the various domains, on their way in and out. Early on in the Edo period, there was a system that was established of the Sankin Kotai, which meant that the various daimyo had to attend the shogun once every other year. And their wives and children had to stay in Edo as sort of security measures. When the daimyo came through here, they had large retinues that would accompany them from their home domain to Edo. And part of the Sankin Kotai idea was to check and make sure everything was going well with the daimyo, and part of it was to keep them poor, if possible, because of the large retinues that were necessary. It cost the daimyos a lot to pass from their home domain to Edo. This particular checkpoint was a checkpoint to check for guns, because no guns were allowed to enter Edo, and for women, because they didn't want the wives of the daimyo to go back to their home provinces, because then they would no longer be secure. Also, the women could hide secret messages in their very, very fancy hairdo, and they had places here where the women had to be inspected right down almost to their bodies to make sure that there was nothing secret going on. So this was a very tough barrier. There were other barriers that were established along the Nakasendo, smaller barriers, to check and make sure that no one took wood out, because the Kiso Valley, which is where we are now, this section, the 60-mile section of the Nakasendo, is very famous for the cedars, cypress, and various cryptomeria kind of trees that the Edo period wanted, the Edo shoguns rather, wanted not to go out. They wanted it for their own, to build their own castles, and they did not want other daimyo to have this access to this wood. It was very strict. Even the people who lived here were not able to use the wood other than perhaps what was fallen or trash wood. There was a policy of one branch, one head, so that if a peasant or someone who lived here stole a branch or a large branch of wood, they lost their head, and the family, of course, lost their means of living. The Nakasendo, which is also called the Kiso Kaido, was established by the Bakufu in about 1601 or 1602. But it's mentioned in the earliest records in the year 703, so it's quite an ancient road. And as you walk from village to village, you can find little tiny museums of even earlier settlements, really Stone Age settlements, what is called the Jomon period, when they made Jomon pottery here. So it's an incredibly ancient road. It was probably an animal track before people came through. But when the Bakufu established this as an official road, they also established what are called post towns, or shuku, every maybe 6 or 7 miles along the way. And this was so that the daimyo and their retinues could stop and either rest or stay overnight, or whatever position they were, you know, whatever, wherever they were, they could, you know, do what they needed to do, whether it was to rest or stay overnight. Now, it's interesting in that this Kiso culture, or the Nakasendo culture, is a mixture then of both Kyoto culture and Edo culture. Edo was the center of politics and slowly becoming a center of arts, but the real center of arts was, of course, Kyoto, arts and culture. So you had people coming in both directions and influencing these towns with their arts and politics, and for that matter, swordsmanship, I suppose.